We sign our names every day, on checks, contracts, forms. Ink is ordinary, invisible in its familiarity. But in one chilling case, it became the only voice of the victim. A forged signature, a pen stroke to perfect, and a chemical fingerprint hidden in the ink revealed a murder that might otherwise have gone unsolved. In 2009, a retired schoolteacher was found dead in her home. At first, it looked like natural causes. There were no signs of forced entry, no obvious struggle, and nothing appeared stolen. But when her family began to settle her affairs, something didn't feel right. Among her papers, they found a recently signed will, leaving nearly everything to a much younger man she barely knew. The signature looked like hers. The ink looked fresh, but suspicion was growing. The man named in the will was a neighbor, someone who occasionally helped with errands. On the surface, he seemed harmless, but detectives wondered had he helped himself to far more than groceries. If the will was forged, it wasn't just fraud, it was motive for murder. Handwriting experts were brought in. They compared the signature on the new will to older documents signed by the victim. Letters, checks, legal forms. At first glance, it looked convincing, but experts noticed something unusual. The strokes were too smooth, too deliberate, lacking the tiny hesitations of natural writing. It looked less like a signature written in the moment, and more like a carefully rehearsed imitation. But handwriting analysis wasn't enough. The defense could argue it was simply one of the victim's natural variations. Investigators needed something irrefutable. That's when they turned to forensic chemistry. Ink, though invisible to the naked eye, carries its own fingerprint. Different brands, even different batches of pens, contain unique chemical compounds. Using a technique called thin layer chromatography, scientists separated the components of the ink in the suspicious will. What they found was stunning. The ink used in the will was manufactured years after the victim had supposedly signed it. In other words, she couldn't have written it at all. The forgery was undeniable. And when detectives dug deeper, the pieces fell into place. Phone records showed the suspect had visited the victim's home the night before she died. A neighbor recalled seeing him leave in the early hours of the morning. The suspect had hoped the forged will would pass unnoticed, but the ink betrayed him. The paper told a story he couldn't erase. In court, forensic experts explained the science to the jury. They showed how the ink separated into bands of color, each representing a unique chemical compound. They demonstrated how the formula didn't even exist at the time the victim was alive. Combined with handwriting inconsistencies and circumstantial evidence, the case against the suspect was overwhelming. He was convicted not just of forgery and fraud, but of murder. For centuries, ink has recorded our history, our agreements, our promises. But in this case, it also recorded a crime, what the killer believed would protect him. A forged document became the very evidence that exposed him, because in forensic science, even a drop of ink can speak louder than words. Thanks for watching The Minute Detective. Like and subscribe for more.